Welcome back, my dear students. Today we are going to see a beautiful theorem named as convolution theorem in order to find the inverse Laplace transform of the given function. But in order to use that theorem, we will need few formulas that we will see first. So, you might have already come across these two formulas. One is sine of a plus b and one is sine of a minus b. So what is our sine of a plus b? Sine of a plus b is equal to sine a cos b plus cos a sine b. And what is our sine of a minus b? Sine of a minus b is equal to sine a cos b minus cos a sine b. And if you add these two formulas, so you'll see that this will get cancelled out and you will left with what? This sine a cos b plus sine a cos b will be twice sine a cos b, that exactly you have here, and the sum of sine of a minus b and sine of a plus b is present here. So in similar way you can obtain these two formulas with the help of this formula. So you have to add it first in order to get this formula, and you have to subtract cos of a plus b and cos of a minus b in order to get this formula. So even if you don't remember this in the exam, still it is fine. So if you know these two basic formulas, then definitely you can easily generate all these three formulas. Now let us move towards the actual statement of the convolution theorem. So the convolution theorem states that if L inverse of phi of s is f of t and L inverse of phi 2 of s is g of t, then L inverse of phi 1 of s multiplied by phi 2 of s is nothing but integral 0 to t f of u g of t minus u du. So note that the integration is with respect to u. Now when to use this formula, that is a question. So whatever function is given to you, first of all we have to think that that function can be written as a product of two functions whose inverse Laplace transform is already known to you. For example, it can be written as 1 upon s square plus a square multiplied by s upon s square plus a square. I will call this as phi 1 of s, I will call this as phi 2 of s, and see that the inverse Laplace transform of this function and this function is already known to me. So in such cases we can think of this convolution theorem. Let us jump into the example. Let us see this example itself. So over here note that, just I will write here, note how can you write this s upon s square plus a square whole square? This thing can be written as 1 upon s square plus a square multiplied by s upon s square plus a square, and I am calling this as phi 1 of s and I am calling this as phi 2 of s because the inverse Laplace transform of that two functions is already known to me. And here I have written L inverse of phi 1 of s is 1 upon a sine of 80 and L inverse of phi 2 of s is this cos of 80. Now see our theorem properly. We are calling L inverse of phi 1 of s as f of t and L inverse of phi 2 of s is g of t. So let us do that immediately then. So this is equal to f of t and this is equal to g of t. So immediately I will say by convolution theorem, L inverse of s upon s square plus a square whole square, which is nothing but L inverse of phi 1 of s multiplied by phi 2 of s is nothing but integration 0 to t. Now just note one thing, limits of the integration varies from 0 to t, and over here you are having f of u. So if you write phi of n first, I am telling you how to remember this formula. So if you are writing phi 1 of s here, then what comes here? The inverse Laplace transform of phi 1 of s. But remember, we write it in the variable u, that is important. And if we are having phi 2 of s here, then over here we are having g of t minus u, where that g of t is the inverse Laplace transform of phi 2 of s. So how can you write it? Now we already know L inverse of phi 1 of s is 1 upon a sine of at. So let us use it. So 1 upon a, or if you want, first of all I will write down the convolution theorem itself. It is f of u g of t minus u du, which is equal to integration 0 to t. Now what will be my f of u? Now since my f of t is 1 upon a sine at, so my f of u will be 1 upon a sine au, right? So I will write here 1 upon a sine au multiplied by, and what will be my g of t minus u? It will be cos a inside the bracket t minus u. So cos a inside the bracket t minus u du. So which is further equal to integration 0 to t. This 1 upon a can be taken out, and I am left with sine of au multiplied by cos of, this is angle, so I will put bracket, this is at minus au du, which is equal to 1 upon a integration 0 to t. Now here comes the role of the formulas that we know. So this is our capital A, this is our capital B. So this will be equal to 1 upon a. Now you can see that over here I am having sine a multiplied by cos b. So we have to use the formula of sine a multiplied by cos b, which we can see here. So sine a multiplied by cos will be what? So if I shift this 2 to the left hand side, it will be 1 upon 2 sine a minus b plus sine a plus b. So let us use that formula. So for you, I will calculate a plus b and a minus b on this side. So what will be my a plus b? My a plus b will be au plus at minus au, which will be 80. And what will be my a minus b? My a minus b will be equal to au minus 80 plus au, and this will be twice au minus 80. So therefore this will be equal to integration 0 to t 1 upon 2 inside the bracket, it will be sine of a minus b, and my a minus b is twice au minus 80 plus sine of a plus b, and my a plus b is 80, and outside integration is with respect to u. So this will be equal to, now we can take this half outside, so this will be 1 upon twice a integration 0 to t inside sine twice au minus 80 plus sine 80, and this will be du, which is further equal to 1 upon twice a. Now what is integration of sine? Integration of sine is minus cos, right? So it will be minus cos twice au minus 80. Now take a note that since this quantity is other than u, why I am saying other than u? Because integration is with respect to u. So therefore we need to divide it by the derivative of this quantity. And what will be derivative of this quantity with respect to u? It will be twice a. Now what will be integration of sine 80? That is a big question. Can you think of it? So integration of sine 80 du over here will be, now since this sine 80 does not contain u, it means it can be treated constant. So we'll take it outside of the integration sign, and I will have integration du. And what will be integration du? It will be u, right? So this will be the integration of sine 80, which I will write here. So plus sine 80, and outside it is u, and limits of u will vary from 0 to t, which will be equal to 1 upon twice a. Now let us put the upper limit of u as t. So this will be minus cos, I will give a curly bracket, so minus cos twice 80 minus 80 upon twice a. This will be plus sine 80 multiplied by t minus. Now put the lower limit. So lower limit means you are going to put value of u as 0. So what you will have here, minus cos of minus 80 upon twice a, and plus, since you are putting for u, so if you put u is equal to 0, this entire term will be 0, right? So plus 0 and this curly bracket closed. So this is further equal to 1 upon twice a inside the bracket minus cos of, what is twice 80 minus 80? It will be 80 upon 2a plus sine 80 multiplied by t, and this minus and minus will become plus. So plus cos 80 upon twice a. And note that this cos is an even function, so cos of minus 80 will be cos of 80 only. So these two terms will get cancelled out, and I will left with what? T multiplied by sine 80 upon twice a. And this formula we have already studied before, right? We have already found out it. Let me show you how we have done it before. Yeah, here maybe. Yeah, this is that. We have already proved that this L inverse S upon S square plus A square whole square is 1 upon twice a T sine of 80, and same thing we have done over here in this example as well. Only the thing is we have used a different method to find it. Now let us see this example. So over here we have to find inverse Laplace transform of S square upon S square plus A square multiplied by S square plus D square using convolution theorem, of course. Now just note that how can we write the function S square upon S square plus A square multiplied by S square plus B square. This function can be written as S upon S square plus A square. I mean, we can write it as a product of two functions whose inverse Laplace transform is already known to us. So this is our obvious choice, right? S square plus D square. So we will call it as phi 1 of S, and we will call it as phi 2 of S. So I'll say let phi 1 of S is equal to this S upon S square plus A square, and phi 2 of S is equal to S upon S square plus D square. Now what is L inverse of phi 1 of S? L inverse of phi 1 of S is equal to what? It is cos of 80. And what about L inverse of phi 2 of S and L inverse of phi 2 of S is equal to cos of bt. So this is our g of t, or f of t, I suppose. We call L inverse phi 1 of S as f of t, and this is our g of t. So therefore by convolution theorem, L inverse of phi 1 of S multiplied by phi 2 of S will be equal to what? This will be equal to integral 0 to t, and over here you will have f of u, I suppose, right? F of u g of t minus u du. This is nothing but the statement of convolution theorem. Let us go back and check it. Yes, as you can see over here. Now we already know the value of f of t, that is cos of 80. So what will be my f of u? My f of u will be integral 0 to t cos of AU, and what will be my G of t minus u? So I will write it here. My f of u will be cos of AU. Just we are replacing t by u, and G of t minus u will be simply replace t by t minus u. So it will be cos b t minus u. So just put it here. So it will be cos b t minus u du. So this is equal to, now obviously we have to use some formula over here in order to find this integration. And can you guess which formula to use? This is our capital A and this is our capital B. What will be my A minus B? My A minus B will be equal to AU minus BT plus BU, and which will be equal to A plus BU minus BT. And what about A plus B? My A plus B will be equal to AU plus BT minus BU, and this will be equal to A minus BU plus BT, because this will be required now. This is equal to, now let us see the formula of cos A multiplied by cos B. So if we go little bit back, in the last class we have already discussed the formula of 2 cos A cos B, but we simply need the formula of cos A cos B. So I have to shift this 2 on the left hand side. So it will be 1 upon 2 cos of A minus B plus cos of A plus B. So therefore half integral 0 to t cos of A minus B, but value of A minus B I already have, that is nothing but A plus BU minus BT and plus cos of A plus B, and my A plus B is A minus BU plus BT, and outside it is du. So this is equal to half. Now what is the integration of cos? Since derivative of sine is cos, so integration of cos is going to be sine. So over here I will write sine of A plus B u minus bt. Remember that this integration is with respect to u. This quantity is other than u, so we need to divide it by derivative of this quantity, and we will take the derivative with respect to u. Obviously we will have A plus B, and again plus this will be sine A minus BU plus BT, and divided by what? A minus B, and the limits of integration, don't forget that varies from 0 to t, and note that these are the limits of u. Okay, so u varies from 0 to t. So whatever upper limit we are going to substitute, that we are supposed to substitute for. This will be sine of A plus BT minus BT upon A plus B, and plus sine of A minus BT, and if I put that t inside, it will be AT minus BT plus BT upon A minus B. Now this is only for the upper limit. Now for the lower limit it will be minus, minus inside the bracket. Since we are substituting for u sine 0 minus bt, it will be sine minus bt, but sine is a odd function, so it will be sine of bt upon A plus B, and plus if I put u is equal to 0, in fact I will get only sine of bt, and upon this will be A minus B, and that's it. So now we have to simplify it. So this will be half inside the bracket. Now if you put this t inside, it will be AT plus BT, and that BT will get cancelled out. Now once that BT is cancelled out, so what is left? We will have only sine of AT. So sine of AT upon A plus B. Let me remove this bracket now. Plus sine of AT once again, but this time around in the denominator we will have A minus B this minus and minus will become plus, so I'll have plus sine of bt upon a plus b, and this minus will be minus, so it will be sine of bt upon a minus b, so which is equal to half. So which are the common denominators? This one, so we will simply add them. So this will be equal to sine upon a plus b and plus sine at. So this is the required inverse Laplace transform of the given function. If you want, you can simplify it further. That can be done. Now we will move towards next example. Again, in this example, it is asked us to find the inverse Laplace transform by using convolution theorem. Now here note that can we write this function s upon s square plus 1 multiplied by s square plus 4 multiplied by s square plus 9 as a product of two functions whose inverse Laplace transform is already known to us. So if you think properly, actually we can write it as a product of two functions whose inverse Laplace transform is already known to us, but the thing is they are not the elementary functions, right? So in the first lecture of the inverse Laplace transform, we have seen the inverse Laplace transforms of some elementary functions. So we cannot write it as a product of two functions where both of them are that elementary functions whose inverse Laplace transform is directly known to us. But instead, we can write it as a product of three functions, okay, 1, 2 and 3, which are our elementary functions. But the convolution theorem, as we have seen, it requires only phi 1 of s and phi 2 of x. But one thing we can do, we can apply convolution theorem in two steps. Two steps in the sense, first of all, we'll find the value of this, I mean value in the sense inverse Laplace transform of this by using convolution theorem. And once we find the inverse Laplace transform of this, then we can definitely call it as phi 1 of s and we can call it as phi 2 of s and we can proceed, right? So what I will say over here, we use the notations, so I'll say let now we find L inverse of phi 1 of s. That we have to find, right? Because we cannot tell it directly. Actually we can tell L inverse of phi 2 of s directly. So L inverse of phi 2 of x will be our g of t and L inverse of phi 1 of s will be our f of t. So see how do we proceed to find L inverse of phi 1 of s. So the idea is, again note that how can you write phi 1 of s? Note that this phi 1 of s can be written as 1 upon s square plus 1 1 upon s square plus 1 multiplied by 1 upon s square plus 4. So what I will do is I will call it as some psi 1 of s and we'll call it as some psi 2 of s. And we already know the inverse Laplace transforms of that. I'll say we know L inverse of psi 1 of s is nothing but sine of t, right? Sine of t, because this one can be written as 1 square. In the numerator we do not have s, right? So it should be sine, and L inverse of psi 2 of s will be, now this 4 can be written as 2 square, so this will be 1 upon 2 sine of 2t. So I'll say by convolution theorem and we'll call it as f of t and we'll call it as g of t. So I'll say by convolution theorem what we will get, L inverse of phi 1 of s will be equal to what? Integral 0 to t f of u, now f of u will be sine u multiplied by g of t minus u. So g of t minus u will be half sine of twice t minus u, and outside it is du. So this half can be taken out, integration 0 to t sine u, and this will be sine of 2t minus 2u du. So we'll call it as a and this argument as b, and we can use the formula of sin a sin b, and rest of the calculations you can do. I leave it to you, and whatever answer we get here, okay, if you want I will not use this f of t and g of t notations, it will confuse you. Let us call it as f1 of t and g1 of t, because we are already going to use the notations f of t and g of t for L inverse of phi 1 of s and L inverse of phi 2 of s. So whatever so according to the convolution theorem, if you want I will write one more step over here. Yeah, by convolution theorem this will be integration 0 to t now f1 of u and g1 of t minus u du, since we have used this notation, right? F1 of t and g1 of t. Now after calculating this answer, whatever we get here, that will be our f of t, and our g of t is nothing but what? L inverse of phi 2 of s. And what is our phi 2 of s? Our phi 2 of s is s upon s square plus 9, and that s upon s square plus 9 can be written as s upon s square plus 3 square. So this is nothing but cos of 3t, and this is nothing but our g of t. Now we can apply convolution theorem. So by convolution theorem once again, so in one problem we are applying convolution theorem twice. So L inverse of phi 1 of s multiplied by phi 2 of s, and this is nothing but our given function, will be equal to integration 0 to t f of u g of t minus u du. This is equal to integration 0 to t. Now you already got the value of f of t from here. You can put the value of f of u, you can put the value of g of t minus u. Your value of g of t minus u would be cos of 3 t minus u du, and you can proceed further and you can get your final answer. So this is how you can use convolution theorem to find inverse Laplace transforms of different functions. So that's all about inverse Laplace transform. I hope you enjoyed all the lectures. Thank you so much.